Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because, wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Hello and welcome to Ask Margaret from What Fresh Hell, laughing in the face of motherhood, answering your parenting dilemmas one question at a time. Today's question comes from Emily, who asks, as a mom of boys, I am finding that my 5-year-old son is very handsy with his friends or boy cousins. It is like my younger son and other boys are like magnets that cannot keep their hands off of each other. It's not aggressive. It's just constant touching, tickling, purposely running into each other, etc. It drives me crazy, but I'm not sure how to curb it or if that's even possible. Along with that, even if I get my son to break the habit, how do I keep other kids from putting their hands all over him? It's not that I am any more of a germaphobe than anyone else. I just feel like it's a recipe for disaster. And when he goes to school in the fall, I don't want him to be off task and missing directions. Is there anything I can do, or is this just a boy thing? Gonna come in hot with this is just a boy thing for the most part. So when we recently had Christina Martin on the podcast, we were talking about learning through play. And this is a good way to frame this. This is not like you guys have to stop touching each other and roughhousing and being each other's spaces and learn. In fact, surprisingly, what they are doing by getting in each other's faces, touching each other, tickling each other, roughhousing with each other is actually learning. So hopefully that's a good perspective shift. Let me read you this quote. You're not necessarily even talking about roughhousing, but I think it pertains to what we're talking about. In his book, Wild Justice, evolutionary biologist Mark Bekoff says, the unpredictable nature of roughhousing actually rewires a child's brain by increasing the connections between neurons in the cerebral cortex, which in turn contributes to behavioral flexibility. Learning how to cope with sudden changes while roughhousing trains your kiddos to cope with unexpected bumps in the road when they're out in the real world. So as you look through nature, look at a group of puppies, look at a group of monkeys, at a group of lion cubs. What are they doing? They're in each other's faces. They're rolling around together. And so this is natural biological behavior because it serves a role. So it's not just like stop touching each other because it annoys me. I would put it in this behavioral context and realize whether it's roughhousing or just kind of touching each other and getting in each other's faces, this is a very natural thing for kids to be doing. Now, that being said, we go to spaces and places. So we understand that kids crave this physical contact with each other, that roughhousing plays this important role. When I say roughhousing, it can even just be like physically touching, tickling, getting in each other's physical spaces. But we also don't necessarily want them tackling each other at church. Let's give an example from my own life. I have 2 boys and I deal with a lot of over-involvement in each other's physical spaces. And so this is a great place to use our spaces and places rule, which is it is fine when you guys are out in the backyard for you to wrestle, roll around, I would say, as long as the pairings are fairly equal. So you don't want a 12-year-old physically overpowering a 5-year-old. And as long as people understand the rules of the game. This is something I talk a lot with my boys. Is everybody playing? I have one guy who kind of likes to come out of the blue and tackle unsuspecting people. That's not allowed either. And as long as there's a general sense of balance in the group and that people are behaving safely, I would say, this is fine. You guys get out there, wrestle, do whatever you want. But we don't do this, let's say, in church. When your kid goes to school, they're going to work a lot on this. And this is one of the roles of school. And it's been really hard for kids who've been out of school because they're missing this experience, which is it's not okay to tackle each other in the classroom. It's a lot of keeping our hands to ourselves during the school day, especially when we're learning. But hey, out at recess, if you guys are out there tussling up with each other, that's fine because this is needed and necessary behavior for kids, but there are spaces and places where it is and is not appropriate. And so, no, you don't have to sit back and be like, oh, well, boys, I guess I have to accept this. You can start putting parameters around it. But I would shift that thinking a little bit from this is something that my kids do to drive me crazy to this is something that is one of our favorite things. It's a biological imperative. And so how can we put spaces and places around it to make it okay? Then you mentioned it's not a concern for you, but for other people, this idea of like, well, germs, and especially as we come off of COVID. During COVID times, kids from different pods should not be wrestling and up in each other's faces because it's not safe. I'm going to speak to post-COVID times, which hopefully we are approaching at some point here. I would not worry very much at all about germs. Your kids are in school sharing a ton of germs. And in the first while that they're in school, they're going to be sharing those germs no matter if they're roughhousing, tickling, getting physical with each other or not. And so I will link to an article in the New York Times that is called Germs, Germs Everywhere. Are you worried? Get over it, which is a little bit of a saucy title, but it's useful, I think, for resetting a little bit of our ideas around germs. And her basic conclusion is, after a ton of studies of people who lived in germ-free environments and germ-full environments, that her basic conclusion was just wash your hands with soap and water a few times a day and leave it at that. And that's what you need to do to combat germs, not stop your kids from getting up in each other's faces. I will say also, this is a phase a little bit. So you're dealing with a peak of it at 5, but I now have 12 and 10. And believe me, I would say half the time they get out of the car, they're on the ground wrestling and fighting with each other. And I just step over them and go in the house and put my groceries away because I say to myself, that biological imperative is at work and I'm going to let it play out and I'm going to control it in other spaces and places. Emily, I hope that helps. If you have questions for myself or Amy, you can send them to questions@whatfreshhellpodcast.com or ask them on our Facebook page. And you might hear your question on an upcoming episode. Thanks for listening.
This podcast is supported by MIDI Health. Are you in midlife, feeling dismissed, unheard, or just plain tired of the old healthcare system? You're not alone. In fact, even today, 75% of women seeking care for menopause and perimenopause issues are left entirely untreated. But it's time for a change. It's time for MIDI. MIDI's not just a healthcare provider. It's a women's telehealth clinic founded and supported by world-class leaders in women's health. Their clinicians provide one-on-one, face-to-face consultations where they truly listen to your unique needs. They offer a full range of holistic, data-driven solutions that isn't one-size-fits-all care. This is care uniquely tailored for you. At MIDI, you will find that their mission is clear: to help all women thrive in midlife, giving them access to the health care they deserve. Because they believe midlife isn't the middle at all. It is the beginning of your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized, insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve.